What we are seeing here from the Turkish authorities is a fierce reaction combined with diplomatic action. As you heard, the Turkish ambassador to Berlin has been recalled back to Ankara for consultations. At the meantime, we have the German charge in Ankara, which has been called to the Turkish Foreign Ministry also for complaints. Mr. Erdogan says that the resolution at the German parliament risks harming bilateral relations. The Turkish government, the spokesperson, has said that this is a null and void decision by the German parliament, which is a historic mistake. And at the same time, the Turkish Foreign Ministry has issued a statement labeling the resolution as shameful, adding that it's an example of ignorance which is aimed at the Turkish ethnic minority in Germany, trying to alienate them from their own history. We are also expecting some sort of reaction from 3 out of the 4 parties in the Turkish parliament later today. With the exception of the pro-Kurdish HDP, we are expecting some sort of condemnation from the other 3 parties in the parliament.
And tell me, I mean, you went through the diplomatic moves. Is there likely to be a further response down the line, do you think?
Well, as you heard President Erdogan saying that this will complicate relations between Ankara and Berlin, one question that has been mentioned here is the possible effect of this on the process regarding the illegal immigrants, the refugees. Both sides have said that they hope that this would not affect the process. Although Turkey is working with the European Union and Germany is only one of the members of the EU, but both sides say that the relations between the two countries, I mean, the German side says the relations between the two countries is strong and broad, but for sure it will make issues complicated here in Ankara.
Well, let's go to Berlin and Damian. Angela Merkel has been talking since that decision. Tell me a little of what she's been saying.
Well, she's been highlighting, Matthew, that relations are still good between Turkey and Germany. She said, although on this particular issue, Berlin and Ankara do not agree, she said that overall the ties are still close between the two countries. Now, that's obviously because Angela Merkel really needs Turkey right now to help solve the migrant crisis. As Khashayar said, we're trying to figure out right now a deal between the EU and Turkey to solve the refugee issue coming into Europe. But what we're hearing from politicians here in Germany is that the hope is, at least in Berlin, that Turkey wants to solve this issue just as much as the EU does. So that President Erdogan so far, even though he has come out strongly in condemnation of this resolution passed by the German parliament today, there is no sign as yet that the pact over the migrant crisis between the EU and Turkey is in danger. But the problem is, this is such a sensitive issue and it's such a controversial issue. And the last thing that Chancellor Angela Merkel needs right now is this explosive issue to come to the fore. And it just seems like incredibly bad timing, because what's interesting is that it's sort of come to the fore over the past year from pressure from her left-wing opposition MPs, her rivals in Parliament, but also within Conservative allies within her Parliament. And you can really see that actually for some people here in Germany, and some of her Conservative allies even, they're not happy with Chancellor Angela Merkel's stance on refugees, and some of them really don't mind at all making life more difficult for her.
In terms of that political pressure on her, though, in the weeks and months coming up, given what we've heard coming out of Turkey today, I mean, that pressure doesn't sound like it's going to go away domestically, and therefore you have the potential for more difficulty on this issue.
Well, it's really hard because, of course, we've got parliamentary elections next year, and so far it looks like Chancellor Angela Merkel could be running for re-election. And so the issue is only going to become more and more difficult. Having said that, the numbers of refugees and migrants arriving in Europe, and particularly arriving to Germany, has sunk drastically since the beginning of this year. Now, that's partly thanks to the cooperation with Turkey. So whether you agree with it or not, it does seem to be having the effect of reducing numbers. So that does mean that the issue has become less controversial over the last few months. And it also means that very few people here want to scupper the deal with Turkey. There are lots of flaws, people would say, and there's lots of people who don't agree with the pact. but it does seem to have widespread support among those who just simply want to reduce numbers of people arriving in Germany. So from that point of view, people don't want to antagonise President Erdogan, but it really depends how President Erdogan really now reacts to this resolution, because it's such a controversial and sensitive issue. It really depends what he thinks personally about it. So far, there are no signs coming out of Ankara that it means it's going to have an impact on the migrant crisis deal, but we're going to have to wait and see until President Erdogan gets back to Turkey.